So this is the Phoenix Tank Addy. You can get them for around, depending on what sale is on, between $13 and $16. This is very similar to the Eternity, although not as pretty. So it comes with a pre-done wick. One thing I want to note, I don't know if I'm going to get this ever done up again, but if you can see this, there's little screws on the side. This could be a problem, but you know me, I'll give it a hook. So there's the bottom part, and there is the tank piercing part. One difference from the Eternity is this hole is empty. There is no wick in it. Basically, you leave this wick long enough to go up and make it inside the hole. So you put that on there. It also has a cone to cover the threads. I think that's what it's for. Pretty sure. Okay, and there's your cone for either dripping. Actually, I don't see this being able to drip because I don't have a drip tip that would fit that. So this is a tank system. I mean, you could just use this as, you know, your drip tip. You just take it off and drip into it. However, there it is. Not quite as pretty, but you know, it's about $10 cheaper. Or actually, I get this one for $12.95. So I don't know, do the math. It's more for the Eternity, but the Eternity's cool. This one comes with 5 pre-done wicks. You see how they do the wicks? Is they purposely make one side longer than the other, so that this will go up and wick into your center post. I don't know if you have to try and get it up there and there, but I don't. Interesting thing about this, it did come with the tank. However, the cartridge has no plug. So yeah, so the Eternity came with plugs and no cartridge, and this one came with cartridge with no plug. So if you're getting either the Eternity or the Phoenix Tank Addy, I would suggest picking up some of these tank cartridges while you're at it. Both of these, the Eternity and the Phoenix, I got at the Light Sig USA. So just a tip. So I will let you know how these vape. This one is kind of cool looking too. It's not as fancy looking as the Eternity, but it's doable. I'll let you know how it vapes. So this Vision Tank Atomizer. I bought this with the Eternity because they both looked similar. So they work similarly. One is probably almost half the price of the other. This one would be the cheaper one. It does have screws, but you can deal with that. But they're weird. They're on the side screws. I'm not sure how that's going to work for me. They got screws on the side. And screws on the top? I don't know. I'm going to have to watch somebody else's video to figure out how to do this. But in its state, when you get it, it's pre-done. They have one side of the wick is longer than the other so that it will go up and feed through the top. And I will show you one that's not all gunky. Open! I'm so prepared. So there it is, how they wire it. They wire it on one end, and then they leave the other end long, so that it will go up inside this portion with the spike. And it's just an empty hole with a spike on the top. So, it does have a skirt, like the Eternity, but it's not threaded. So their skirt just sort of sits there. And once you have it on, it moves freely. So it's just hiding. It's not. And I will tell you that this thing does not thread into every one of my mods. Not every one of my egos. So if you can see that, it's still rolling free there. So that goes in there. Make sure your wick is up. Just give it a burn so I don't. It's wicking well. So then you put it so that it goes up in there. Whereas the Eternity has an actual stationary piece of wick that's in that bugs me. The Eternity has a stationary piece of wick in its little ensemble. And you put the cone on. And where is my... There it is. I only have like 2 or 3 of these. But I'm lucky I did. Now this one came with this cartridge, but the thing on the bottom was gone. So if you did this, just poured it right back out. So bear that in mind when you're purchasing the Phoenix. So here we go. Stick it in the tank. Now, how does this one vape? Honestly, not as good. And maybe dripping, if it had the dripping option, but this one is, where the Eternity has both options, this one is just the tank. I mean, you could probably drip if you wanted, just leave this empty and just drip into it. But I'm just wondering, you know what? I'm wondering, because there's no instructions with these things, but I'm wondering if I take this off, can I just do this? And I can. So theoretically you could drip, but that's really, your mouth is really close to the coil at that point. Yeah, and you couldn't put the tip in there, so no, you can't go dripping with this. So this is a tank. Stick the tank in there. It doesn't feed as well, but honestly, if you're going to, because I have the 2 of them side by side, if you're going to pay the money, I would go with the Eternity. I mean, it looks better. It has the dripping option. This is cheaper, but it looks cheaper. It does it, but not having the dripping option is what would sway me to the Eternity over the Phoenix. Yeah. And I don't know what it is about the tanks, but I still taste it. It's just a tiny, I don't know if it's psychological, like I said, but I'm tasting a tiny bit of plastic, and I don't like it. So this one is going to get washed out and set aside for, emergencies, or, if somebody wants to try it, I'll give it to them. So the Phoenix tank replaceable atomizer, between $13 and $16, I think you can get them. They're probably going to go cheaper because they just are. Really didn't enjoy this one very much.
Mommy, don't say that word. Oh boy.